Okay, so now what we've done is that we've created the database, and the next piece, how do we use the controls available for us in Visual Studio to display the information in this database? Now I added a few records. I added one record. For example, we have one customer. Here's the phone, the address, and then the city, and then we have the image name. Now the image name is, this field is, if you look at this table, we have actually the Solution Explorer, we have something called images. In this images, we have a few images that belong to this website. One of them is called bmw1.jpg, images.jpg. Now, in this field, what I'm doing, I put the link. So I'll put actually images and the name of the image, the path and the name of the image, all right? And I'll show you how we display it in a minute in our data. So I'm done with this. Now let's go to the HTML pages. We'll start with the Solution Explorer here. I'm going to start with the page that called cities. Okay, here's my cities form. Okay, right now it's empty. There's nothing in it, and it looks boring. But of course, you can make it a lot better. You can put images. You can you put animations and graphics and all of that. But what I'm interested in right now, I'm gonna use these controls that are available for us. Now, your controls here are divided by functions. So the standards is the one that you use often. The one that you use for data controls is under data. So if I click on this, and I have a few things that I can work with in here. I have data list, data pager, detail view, form view, grid view, all of these things. Now, it depends on what you're trying to do. For example, if I want to list one element at a time, one record at a time, I can use, for example, detail view, or I can select form view. Form view allows you to do what? It allows you to insert, add, update, delete, all of that. All right? So it depends on your function. So if you have a page that you want to maintain some data, so you can use the form view, allow you to insert, update, and all of that stuff. So we're going to use, and we have a city table, so we're going to use the form view on this one. All right? Before you do that, there is something called SQL data source. The SQL data source is important. The SQL data source is the link between your pages and your database. If you don't have that SQL data source, these controls do not work. So my first step is how we create a data source. So I can simply click and drag this data source on my page. All right? A data source needs some work. You need to configure it, and you need to configure it properly. So the minute you drag it into here, it'll tell you configure data source. So when you click on it, you can select what database you want to work with. Now we already have one database, right? We added that customer database. So if I click on here, it should give me the customer database. Then when I click on next, this piece is important, called connection string. A connection string is the way you communicate with a database. Without that connection string, you cannot connect to a database. All right? You do this in any application that you need to connect to a database. This database can exist locally, or it can exist on another machine. It requires usually a username and a password and what type of information you are, what kind of database you're working with. So automatically, when I did that, Visual Studio create that connection string for you. You don't have to mess with it. So when I click on next, now the next screen tells you what tables you want to work with on this page. We have two tables. We have the city tables and the customer tables. We are working with the city page. So I will select what? The city table. Now, here, most people kind of ignore this and just do next, next, next. No, there's a function to this. First, you can say where. Where what? Where means that I can have, I want to look at only records in Dubai, for example, or sorry, I'm going to look at cities in a particular country, if we have a country here, right? So we'll actually, you can say where a field equal to a particular value, all right? We don't have that in this case, so I'm going to ignore that part. But you can do order by. For example, I want to order by what? I want to order by the city name. So my cities would be listed alphabetically, right? So why is that important? It's important because you want it to be able to look things easily. You want to find things easily on your page. And then when a customer opens and they have a drop-down list and they want to select a city, you want to be that the cities to be ordered. Otherwise, they basically would be paging up and down to find the information. So that's how you sort it. So I want to sort it by the city name, ascending order. And then you click OK. Notice here, it'll create your SQL statement for you. Order by city name. All right. And then you hit OK. This is important. Advance. Advance allow you to be able to maintain that table. For example, you can say, I want to be able to generate, insert, update, and delete statements. It means what? It means that I want to be able to add a new city. I want to be able to delete a city. I want to be able to update a city. Without this, you won't be able to do it easily, right? You will have to write some code to do that. But Visual Studio provide this for us. So I say, yes, hit generate this and hit OK. Now I click on next. To make sure that everything works, all you need to do is a test query and then make sure that this is, I notice it actually sorted for me. The A is listed first, D's, and then S after that. Now I click on finished. Oh, it's already, it's because the connection string is already, or it's okay, all right. Okay, because it's already, I created earlier, it was there, that's fine, but it should be done. So now I have my, I have what? I have my SQL data source, right? Now, I can select from these whatever control I want and connect it to this data source. The one that we said we want to do, for example, I'll just show you a different example and I delete it. If I want to use a grid, a table, I can select this, drag it in here, and now I can say, select the data source. What data source I want to use? SQL data source. And here's because it knows automatically that there is only two tables in my form, my table, so it will put these two for me. Now, to test it, all I have to do is just run it, and it would work. I got my tables from the database name. And again, the same thing that we saw there, all right? Now, if I want to modify this, we can go back in there and modify this grid. So the grid is like a table, all right? I'm gonna delete this grid. The data source still is there. So I can try different controls if I want and see which one suits me the best for what I'm trying to do on this page, all right? So for example, I can do a data pager, if a detail view. Let me show you a detail view, all right? A detail view, and then I click on view, and a detail view allows you, it shows you what? It shows you one record at a time, okay? What happened here? It didn't show anything. Oh, why did not show anything? Does anybody know? The data source. We did not connect it to the data source. So what you need to do is that you need to go in here and then do what? Choose a data source. which is already existing here. Okay, do you see this enable paging? So if I say enable paging, enable editing, enable inserting, enable deleting, as you select these options, it give you what? It'll give you these options in the template. So now if I run it, here's my table. And then I can do select this next record, next record. And if I want to edit it, I can edit it in here. If I want to cancel, I can cancel. You see that? All right. Cancel. But if I want to add new one, for example, okay, we have Najman, for example, right, Russell Khema, right? If I say insert, now I have 4 records, okay? Now I close this. Now notice what happens. If I go to the database now, if I go to SQL Server, Solution Explorer, and I click on that customer database, when I click on cities, I should see what? Now if I right-click on this, right-click on this, view data, show data table, what should I get? I should get the field that I added on the database, on the website. So whatever you add on the data on the website, it actually would be inserted in your database. Is that right? You get the idea? Okay, so what else can you do with these things? If we close this and let's go back to the database, to the city. All right, so this is called, which view was this? Which was, this was what? Detail view. All right, so I can delete this guy and test another one. We said detail view, we did what? We did the grid view and detail view, and let's say what happened with the form view. In the form view, I can click on here. Again, if you add it without selecting the data source, nothing happens. So you click on the select data source. Again, what happens? You got similar to the detail view, right? Similar. Okay, so, but it has the edit, delete, and new already selected for you. Now, maybe you don't like the look of these templates. We call these templates. You don't like it, it doesn't fit your theme. So how can I change these templates? Okay, so I can delete this and let's put the detail view again to show you. Okay, and then select the SQL data source and configure it. I'm going to do enable paging, enable editing, inserting, deleting, and updating. Do you see this thing called auto format? So if you click on auto format, you can actually have things that are already available for us. And you need to look at your theme and select the one that matches your theme. All right. So I have a blue and white. Maybe I can select something that is similar, that has blue and white colors. All right. So I don't have anything. Maybe we ran. Okay, which one was it? Classic. All right. So this one, maybe this is okay. You click on OK. Okay. Maybe you want to make it bigger or change the fields or change the it says city name. Maybe you don't like this. Maybe you want to change the headings of these. How do you edit these templates? The way you edit these templates, you click on it and you say edit template. See that? Now I can edit each field in here. Oh, I edit the footer. Okay, I edit template. Okay, I want to edit. Oh, why is not edit edit fields? Okay, this is different. All right, I'm gonna edit templates and then I want to edit fields. All right, so when you click on edit fields, watch what happens. For example, this here, you can change the title. Instead of city just that, you can say actually city and put space. Otherwise, it will be the same. Okay, city name like that. Okay, you can do you can make it visible or non-visible, but you can do a lot of things in here. You can say read only. Do you see that read only? It means that you cannot change it. All right. So I'm gonna hit OK. So now I actually changed the name of the field, all right? So you can do edit, if you wanna change the template, you can change it this way. The other way you can change template is what? You can change template using the code. For example, if you click on the source, here's all your fields. You see the fields that are here? For example, if you want to edit a particular field in here, where is the city? This is my detail view. This is my color, background color. You can select the borders. You can select the background color. If you want to design it yourself, you can design it here and by going to the source. All right. Okay. Here is your fields. For example, here's your field that we have from the data source. So you can do it visually, or you can actually do it in the source code. All right, so that is how we use some of these forms, and then how we connect it to the data source. Now, the next part, I'm going to show you how we link your page to an image. How do we add an image to your website and link it to a field in your database? All right. So in the page that is called customers, you know the customer forms. Here's my customer form. What I'm going to do, I'm going to add again SQL data source to this page and configure it. You select the database and then you click on next. And because I have already connection string, I'm going to make it connection string 1 or 2. All right. So we don't get that error. I'm going to select my table, customers. I'm going to select order by. We're going to sort them by customer name. And I hit OK. And I'm going to say advanced. I want to be able to insert, add, update, and delete. And you hit OK. And then you click on next. And then I get finished. Here's my database. Here's my data source. And here's my record. Since it's customer, and the customer I'm going to add form details. Here's my form. And I'm going to select the database, the data source, which is this one that I created. And we can change the format of your template, select something that is classic, whatever, all right? Something that fits with your style. We don't have anything. So select that one, apply, and hit OK. Now, you can edit this. If you want to make it longer, bigger, okay, you can edit the fields the same way I showed you. How do you edit the fields? You just simply click on here, on this arrow, edit template. Now you can edit the fields. Here, you can do a lot more with these things. You see these fields? Here's my fields. Customer name, you can change this to custom name. You can edit here online. This is in a form, different than the detail view. You can actually add what? Images here, customer phone, all right? Customer address and so forth. Okay, you can do that yourself. But this is an image, actually what? This is a link to, this is just a link to an image name in my file. So how do I add an image here? How do you add an image so this image is actually tied to that customer? The way you do it, you go to standards. Because you don't have, under data, you don't have an image. Do you have an image here? There is no image. So what do? You go to standards, and in here you have an image. And drag it and drop it in here in your form. Now this image, you can't tell, but it's small, so I can make it as big as I want to. If you want space in between, you can add a space in between. Now this image needs a source. where am I going to get this image from? The way you do it in the properties. In the properties, you can select. Here you have what you have. This is my image. And then you click on properties. And you should have the image URL. Do you see that here? It's not, if it's not showing, you can just do a sort this way. You see, where is the image URL? Okay. You see that? And you click on it. Now this image URL should come from where? Where should it come from? Huh? It should come from the database. Now, if it's just an HTML URL, notice what happens. If I select HTML URL, it says, where is the image URL? But you don't want that. You want it to come from the database. So how do I get the image from the database? You just simply click on this arrow, edit data binding. When you click on edit data binding, you notice here is what? Image URL. And then you just simply select the field that contains that image link, which is in this case, this one. This is important when you're doing catalog, when you're doing like a product listing, right? You want to tie your record with that image. And when now you say, hit OK. Now to test it, all you do is that run it and make sure we should get the BMW image for that record. Right? Okay, so that's how you tie a field in your database with an image that is on a website. You just put the path. All right. Now, of course, if you do a new, you will have to select the image. You need to put a new image name, or you need to upload it. That takes more work. All right. But for now, this is how we tie a form. How we configure these different controls, and how we add an image to the website, to the page that we're working with. All right. I'm going to stop in this. In the next video, I'll show you how we do the catalog, how we use the data list. All right.